Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Lesson 99. Salvation is my only function here, not one of several. Now, salvation, realize, is changing my mind, healing the so-called split mind, letting go of non-loving thoughts. It's all those things. And it says, salvation and forgiveness are the same thing. They both imply something's gone wrong, something to be saved from, forgiven for, something needs correcting. Something seems to have happened or that is experienced that's different from the will of God, which means, of course, what was actually created. So they both imply an impossibility which seems like it's occurred, resulting in a very big conflict in our own minds between what is actually so, the truth, love, unity, etc., and what could never be, our own sense of personal separate self. So truth and illusions, or you might say what's possible and what's not possible, seem equally valid now for us. They both seem to have happened. The impossible becomes the thing we need forgiveness for. In other words, the impossible idea that hasn't really ever happened but seems like it has is what we need to let go of. So salvation, letting go of these ideas, happens in a borderland between the truth and illusion, because it's the place where we can escape our crazy ideas, and yet it's not totally the truth, because it's an undoing or a healing process of what was never done. Now, do not waste a second trying to figure all that out. Remember, this is about practicing ideas and getting results, and then what all this means clears up. It can't clear up before we let go of the false ideas, because the false ideas cloud our minds and make meaning a near impossibility. That's why we must practice. So then it says, how could there be a meeting place at all where earth and heaven can be reconciled? Now, our minds see illusions and we think they're real. Illusions are appearances. It's the world of time and space. Now, this is an important idea. They have existence in that they are thoughts. And remember how it tells us in the beginning of the lessons endlessly that thoughts and things are the same thing? And yet they're not real, because the mind that thinks these thoughts is the separated from God part, the non-loving part. That's what makes them not real, because they're not loving. Okay. What joins the separated mind and thoughts with mind and thought, capital M, capital T? What plan could make this work that could hold the truth and know the truth and yet recognize the illusions and the needs that they bring? And what possibly could offer a plan to undo this that involves no attack and no touch of pain? That should sound good. What but a thought of God could be this plan, where the crimes and sins that we think we've committed disappear? They disappear because they were never real and actual in the first place. Remember, to be real, they have to be loving. Sins aren't loving. The Holy Spirit, that mediating function in our minds, holds this plan as it was given it, within our common mind, the mind of God, and in our own. It's apart from time in that the source is timeless, and yet it operates in time because that's where we think we are. So this mediating function, this loving part of our minds that really knows the truth but sees what we see, it sees the sin, the pain, the death, the grief, the separation, the loss, and he knows this must be true. God is still love, and this is not his will. This was not created by love. So this is the thought that's going to do the correcting and the healing here. It sees the appearances, and behind the appearances it sees the changeless and the loving and the true. So this thought, these thoughts, that save and forgive accords no faith whatsoever to what was not created by the only source it knows. Okay, so this is the thought whose function is to save by sharing its function with us. Salvation is our function as well, along with the one to whom this plan was given, because we're all one mind. Okay, now we have the plan. He has the one answer to appearances, regardless of form, size, depth, any attribute, and this is it. Salvation is my only function here. God is still love. Love is still love, and this is not his will. This is not what comes of the creator of only love. So salvation, which is the releasing of my hallucinations, the healing of my mind, is what I'm here for. So you who will yet work miracles, in other words, to be aware of the presence of love, we want to make sure to practice this. We want to see the strength in this. We want to see that these are the words that make us free. These are the words that help us know you are loved. This world of pain is not his will, and to let go of the idea that anything would ever have wanted this for you. Then let this thought, with which he has replaced your mistakes, enter the darkened places of your mind. That's all the places where you have personal, separate, hateful, who's done what to who kinds of thoughts. The thoughts that were never his will. Now, this part of the mind belongs to love, as does the rest. Remember, when you drew your little line on a piece of paper, it didn't separate from the rest of the paper. It just drew this little arbitrary line that did nothing whatsoever in terms of separating. We pretended like it did, but it didn't. So this part belongs to God. It doesn't make these crazy ideas real by hiding them. So don't hide them. Let the light in, and you will see there's no obstacle there at all. Just open your secrets, put down your defenses, and see how bright your light still is. You haven't ruined yourself. You are still as you were created. Practice this thought today, and let this light seek and find the darkened places in our own mind, and just shine through them. It kind of erases that line on the paper. It's God's will that your mind be one with his. That means knowing only love. That's why all this other stuff isn't God's will. It's God's will that he has but one son, that everything is one. This is a teaching of non-duality. It is God's will. It's what was created, that we were created as one, and we are all that one. So think about these things as you practice today, and do your lessons in this manner. Salvation is my only function here. Salvation and forgiveness are the same thing. It's a letting go of what's not true about us. Then turn to him who shares this function, and he's going to teach us what we need to learn to stop being afraid, to know that we're loving. There is no opposite to love, that love, which is what we are, is a total description of us. So we're asked to recognize and forgive all the thoughts that would oppose this truth of us, of our completion, our unity, our peace. We can't lose these gifts. They're built into the very fabric of our being. Our gifts are us, and we don't want to be anything but that. This separate ego thing that we've made does not bring us joy, and it's just not what we want to continue to deal with. So we don't have a function. We've thought our function was the care and maintenance of the ego, but that's not of God, and that's not the one we want to hang on to anymore. So we want to forgive ourselves, the thing that we thought we made, and what we think we have to do about it. Forgiveness and salvation are the same. So we want to let go of what we've made, and we are saved. Remember how we're told over and over again, we're not to look for love, but to look for the blocks to our awareness of love and let them go? Well, this is all part of this letting go. So this special message for today has the power to remove all doubt and fear forever. And if you're likely to think some of those old thoughts are true, remember, appearances don't count. They cannot withstand the words of truth. And those words of truth are, salvation is my only function here. Healing, letting go of my crazy ideas about myself is the only thing that makes sense, because the opposite to that would be care and maintenance of the ego. All that's going to do is drive me into deeper pain and loneliness. We do not want to do that. God still is love, and this is not his will. Anything that is loveless is not his will. So our only function tells us that we're one, and we want to remind ourselves as often as possible, salvation, healing my mind, healing the sense of split is my only function. It's the only thing that brings me happiness. It's the only thing that makes any sense to be involved with. So we lay forgiveness on our minds, the fear disappears, and love becomes prominent in our experience as it was designed to be. And know that you are the one creation of the one creator. That's the whole point. That's what we're trying to remember. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Practice, practice. Don't try to learn. Bye.